started because we only have a very short amount of time. How are you doing so far today?
I'm doing okay. My day's just started. This is the first thing I've done, so yeah, just getting started. I get really nervous for these things. My heart is beating, it's pounding. I'm not a morning person in general. So,
I'm really nervous too.
bear with me if I sound like totally ridiculous, it's because this is terrifying.
Okay, well you look calm, cool, and collected, and we all love you. So before I open it up to the audience, I just have a couple questions. I'm curious, when you were growing up, or at some point in your life, did you ever get into comic books? Were you ever a fan of certain comic books?
No, I was a fan of superheroes, but I didn't get my fix from comics. I got it from television. I got it from cartoons and the films. The old 60s series Batman. I'm dating myself.
No, not at all.
But yeah, no, I got it that way. I was the kid who would sit in front of the TV for hours and hours and hours and hours. My mom wouldn't let me go out and play a lot of times because it was either dangerous or because I had asthma. She didn't want me going out and getting an asthma attack, so she sat me in front of the TV.
So out of curiosity, since you are mentioning the fact that you had asthma, did that ever affect you when you were wrestling?
Oh, all the time, yeah. All the time. A lot of people don't realize and I got a lot of grief every once in a while that I was out of shape, and I really wasn't. I was just having asthma attacks. But I would hide inhalers around the ring. No, I really would. I would hide them under the ring so I knew where they were, and sometimes I'd give them to the bellkeeper or somebody so they would have my inhaler. And there was more than a few times when I just not crawled over selling something and just started wrestling again. Yeah.
That's so crazy. I had no idea. You made it look so natural. And another question, something that I read about you is that you're a collector. And I read that you like to collect lunch boxes?
I do. I collect a few things. I collect lunch boxes, and I collect. I'm an old skater. I'm an old BMXer, and I collect BMX bikes and skateboards, but predominantly lunch boxes. Yeah.
Do you collect any of your characters? Do you have any Drax?
I do. I have. I think the Marvel officially released one, and I have that. But James Gunn, as a rap gift, made me the first Drax lunchbox. So he made me one when we did Guardians 1 because he knew I loved lunchboxes. So I think that's going on. Yeah.
That's very cool. All right, the one and only. All right, so if it's okay with you, we're going to take some questions from the audience.
Yeah, please.
Okay, once again, just one question per person. And
this is going to be a wrestling question.
So, hey Dave, my biggest question for you is, if there's any young up-and-coming young talent in the business, who do you see as one of the next biggest stars in the business, and who do you think really deserves that push to be the next top guy or woman in the pro wrestling business, WWE or any other company?
Man, I feel like this is a long conversation. I definitely wouldn't single out one talent. I think there's a lot of talent. I've been down to PC, and there was a handful of guys that were just shockingly good. And a lot of them, I don't know the names. They haven't even made it up onto NXT TV yet. So I don't know, man. There's going to be a plethora of stars that are going to come out of the PC in the next few years. I wouldn't single one out, and I don't know, man. I'm so disconnected. It would be really unfair for me to answer that question. I just because I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to insult. I don't want to single anybody out because I know it's going to be all over the internet. And I would be speaking in ignorance, and I don't want to do that.
That's true, and I just want to say thanks for being here in Minneapolis, and great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for appreciate it.
This microphone's really tall. Hi.
Hey.
I was wondering. Oh, hold on, I already forgot.
no pressure.
Okay, so
If you forgot one question.
it's been a long morning. So I was wondering, how did you find out that you were going to be playing Drax, and how did you react?
Oh man, well that's all right. So I auditioned for months, and I actually thought I hate to sound generic, but I was on my way to the gym. And this was after auditioning for months, and I got a call from my agent. And he said, hold on for a second, and I was freaking out because I knew this was about Guardians, and I thought they were going to tell me that I didn't get the role. And so anyway, they got my whole team on the phone, and they told me that I had the role, and I literally pulled over and broke down. I broke down, like not, my car didn't break down, but I broke down. And then I went home and I was just like in tears. I was just in shock. I didn't know what to do with myself. I wasn't going to the gym. I was kind of walking around in circles, because I really struggled for years and years, and I fought really hard for this part. And I went into this audition with my agent actually telling me not to get my hopes up because it was a real long shot. But it just escalated from there, and the more involved I got in it, the more I wanted it. So it just, it was a lot of years, of anticipation of wanting or needing something. I really was at the point in my life where I needed this even more than I wanted it. And it changed the course of my life completely. I've been working ever since.
Thank you. To follow up on that, when you were auditioning for the role, did you realize how monumental it was going to be? I mean, Guardians is like the biggest thing.
I knew it was going to be big, and only because I was a fan of Marvel. And I knew what they were doing, I knew what they were putting out, and it was all good stuff, it was good quality films. So I knew it was going to be big, but we didn't realize how big it was going to be. And at that point in my audition, I knew nothing about it. When I first got the sides for Drax, I said, who the hell is Drax? And I called my acting coach, and he literally flipped out, because he's a comic fan. And he flipped out, like, oh my God, this is a chance, this is an opportunity we've been waiting for, And so he literally told me, he said, hang up the phone, do some research, and call me back. And I called him back, and I still didn't know anything about Drax. I was so confused, because there's so many different versions of Drax, and some of them are just really not good. But it was one picture, I saw this picture of Drax, and he just looked menacing, and I just felt like I connected to that one picture, and I called him, and I said, I think I kind of get who he is, but and he filled me in, and he literally, I was telling my friend, last night, my friend Nikita, I was telling her last night that my acting coach literally held my hand for 3 days going through this audition process. Like, he came with me everywhere. He took me to eat, he talked to me all day, we went over the lines, he stayed with me as late as he could, came back maybe in the morning, and took me to, to audition, just babying me through this. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
Hi, Mr. Bautista.
Hey, how are you?
So, what kind of acting education did you get? And if you were to do it over, what other kind of acting education did you get?
The acting education that I got was about a month of working with an acting coach. And so I worked with my coach, and I worked with him here and there afterwards, but I'm in the on-the-job learning actor. After every project, I feel like I'm a stronger actor, which is why I really try to choose my projects wisely. I've done a few paycheck jobs. I'm guilty of that. I think most actors are. But I think for the most part, I'm really particular about who I work with and who I'm directed by, and that's because I'm a student of acting, and I'm trying to learn from the best, and I feel like that's the way I become a better actor. That's the way I became a better professional wrestler. So it's a formula that works for me. But I don't have a formal education. I'm always envious of people who do, because I would have liked to have had that experience, gone through that process, being on stage, theater. I love theater. I'm a fan of theater, and I'm always envious of people who can do theater. Like, to me, they're real actors, they're thespians, and I envy that, because that's something that I desire to be.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Hi, so could you possibly tell me the name of the next Marvel movie that you're going to be in?
I could, and I will not.
Kid right there.
Hey,
Hi, Dave.
I'm Filipino.
How are you, Dave?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
That wasn't the first question. This is the question. You lived an incredible life, and I loved you as a pro wrestler, and you found great success in Hollywood. What's one thing you learned that you would tell another child, or someone who's feeling lost?
Feeling lost?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question to answer, and I think that has to be answered, on each individual. I don't know if, for what reasons they're lost. Some people, I don't know if I'd be the person to answer that. I can tell you what I did, what I did when I was lost, but I don't know if I'm the person to give advice to a person who is lost, and not knowing, how lost they are and what they've had to deal with. But, I would always be willing to share stories from my life, things that worked for me. And to be honest, my salvation was in the gym. And I know that sounds, really generic, cliche, be a big meathead, but it wasn't about being big or being muscular. It was just somewhere, it was a sanctuary for me. And it gave me peace, and it was my outlet. Because I dealt with it a lot. My life, like you said in the beginning of your question, my life was not always great, man. It wasn't great until I was like 35 years old, when I was well into my professional wrestling career, when I actually started making a dime. But up until then, I was broke, and I dealt with a lot of violence, a lot of poverty, a lot of hunger, a lot of death. So it wasn't great. It took me a long time to really just feel comfortable with myself and my life and be at peace. I hope that makes sense.
I think it goes to show that you had the ability to persevere through it all,
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I'm a pretty positive person.
So, if you could play any Marvel character other than you, who would it be?
Black Panther. Black Panther all day long. I don't know, I just love him. There's just a cool factor, and I love that he's not like a true blue superhero. He's basically a human. But he's got the badass suit. And I like his fighting style. I like everything about him, what he stands for. So yeah, Black Panther.
Thank you.
What was it like to be on the set of Endgame?
It was surreal. It was weird. And it's because, I've not been in this business that long. And so a lot of people that were there, I grew up admiring. I grew up watching on film. I'm a real film buff. I love movies. I love television. So it was a bit surreal. It was a bit odd. And there was always times where I looked around and then I asked myself, what the hell am I doing here? I feel like I'm waiting for somebody to come and kick me off a set saying, how'd you get in here? No, it was very surreal. There was one day in particular where it was like this big secret scene, and they had so many casts, and I think there was a picture on the internet. They did an aerial of the trailers that were lined up, and all those trailers are full of movie stars. So it was like movie star overload. It was like you could throw a rock and hit an Academy Award winner. So yeah, it was a bit surreal. In a good way.
You can tilt the microphone down.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Why is Gamora?
A question for the ages. I've never been asked that before. There was a few of those. There was a why and what and how, and we did a bunch of those, but for some reason, why is Gamora just stuck? And every Tom Holland just could not keep a straight face. I'm pretty sure he peed himself at one point. The big wet spot on his green suit was a giveaway. But he was just laughing. He laughed so hard, so that one stuck. So that's why Miss Gamora.
Hello, Bautista, the animal, former member of Evolution. Me, my family, my friends, we've been dying to get this answer. Would you rather be put in an ankle lock, or the crossface for 5 minutes, and why?
For me, I'd rather be put in a crossface. And it's because I've had jiu-jitsu guys grab a hold of my ankle, and it's horrible. I think my face it's kind of beat up anyway. My neck's pretty strong. I think I could hold out for 5 minutes with crossface. I'd be okay. ankle, you know, I'm not up for having a snap ankle.
Thank you.
There was like a big debate in his family. Is that what his question was?
I guess.
All right, hopefully we settled that. All
I
right.
want to hear those conversations.
I was wondering, what is the biggest difference for you going from like professional wrestling to professional acting, and what did you learn as a wrestler that helped you?
Well, I don't, you know, they're really apples and oranges. All entertainment, but I think what wrestling did for me was, this feels so odd to say, but bring me out of my shell a bit. And because I'm still somewhat of an introverted person, but if you'd seen me before I started wrestling, it's like I mean, I didn't talk much to people. My first interview I did on camera, I had to walk away from because I was shaking so bad. But I think, you know, the biggest difference is the intimacy in films. Like, you go from being such a broad audience to being like this tiny little intimate space, and it feels, sometimes that feels more overwhelming for me than big crowds. I think big crowds you can kind of get, I don't know, kind of lost in it. I do a lot of things. Obviously, I wear like shades and hats that kind of as a pacifier, and they help me, you know, cope with things. But with film, there's just no line. It's just you there and your performance, and it's usually very quiet, and the cameras are just right on you. The closer the camera gets to me, the harder it is for me. Like, a lot of people, actors like close-ups, they terrify me. I have done, and I'm not just saying this because you've seen my work, and I'm not going to say you've never seen my best work, but I've done my best work when I'm off camera doing scenes with someone else. I swear, that's when I just feel like relaxed and natural. If the camera's not on me, it's not a good thing for an actor.
Thank you.
So you mentioned in a previous question that you're really picky about who directs you.
I try to be, yes.
And so you're in Blade Runner 2049
Yes.
for a little bit. And you're in Dune coming out next year. So Denis Villeneuve is like one of my favorite directors working today, and I was really interested, like, what is it like working with him?
It is, it's weird, it's peaceful. This is not going to make sense at all. But I'm going to answer it off the top of my head the best way I can, because it's peaceful, but it's also very intense. And what I mean by peaceful is, Denis has a very, I don't know, he just has a very calm demeanor. He's a very calm person. But at the same time, he is so specific and passionate about what he wants in his performance. I mean, down to like the tiniest, smallest little movements. And so it's like you're relaxed, but you're also intensely focused. And he is a perfectionist. And it's really amazing. He's so lovable and he's so respectable that you really want to perform for this guy. You trust him, just give yourself to him as an actor. And you really want to give him what he wants, because he really is a master. But he's by far one of my favorite directors. I love working with him, and it's very challenging. And I think, like, I know it was a small role, a Blade Runner role, but it made me such a stronger actor. You know, through the whole audition process and the short film, it just made me a better performer. And I got a lot of acting credibility from that very small role. I hope that I'll get, because Dune, what I've done in Dune is really, I mean, it's a character piece. You know, I play the Beast, and he's every bit of the Beast. he's the son of a bitch. But you know, it was one of those things, and I have to tell you this, it's a great story. But so from what I learned on Blade Runner, I knew that Denis would have a vision for this character. So when I showed up in Budapest for my costume fitting, makeup, all that stuff, I saw Denis for the first time, and I said, so, you know, what do you think? Who is this guy? And he looked at me, and I swear to God, it gives me chills. He goes, let me dream about it tonight, and I'll tell you tomorrow. I was like, okay, I can't wait. But he did. He came in the next day, and he had kind of a vision for him, and we started working on it. I hope everybody, I think people are going to flip out when they see this film.
Oh, I can't wait for it.
Hey, Dave.
Hey.
So, if you were still in professional professional wrestling today, who would be the one superstar you would love to face?
Today?
Yeah.
I really, I always had a thing for Bray Wyatt.
Yeah! Say that!
I just thought he was great. He can do everything. I mean, he can do everything.
I don't think you'd want to face him now, though.
I'd love to be in there with him. No, I think I think he's a talented dude. I think he does everything across the board. He can do anything. I don't know what's going on with his career. I don't know. I'm not in the office. I don't know what they've done. I feel like there was a wrong turn somewhere. But I think he's a really talented kid.
Thank you.
All right, we have time for about one or two more questions.
So I think, as we kind of heard before, of all the quippy one-liners of the Guardians of the Galaxy, you probably have the best catalog out of anybody. So I'm curious what...
And just side note, James Gunn. He wrote all that stuff.
And a thank you for his whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what is your favorite Drax quote?
God, I don't know. There's a lot. That's a tough question. I've never actually been asked to pick a favorite one. I don't think I have. What's your favorite one?
I think we heard it before. Why is it more?
That's not my favorite one. I don't know. I don't want to waste time. I can't answer that question. There's too much pressure. Yeah, and I'm going over 4 films now. I'm trying to figure out which one. That's really tough.
They're all good. All right. This is our final question.
So you've worked on Spectre and the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which are all very fast-paced, kind of action-heavy films. But you've also worked with Denis Villeneuve in 2049 and now Dune, which are very laconically paced. I'm wondering, what do you find are the respective challenge differences between those two styles of film?
Well, again, and I hate to repeat myself, but I think it's just that Denny is so specific about my performance. I think that's the challenge. But it's weird when you say, difference about the pace of the film. I don't feel like there was a difference in the challenge of performance. Sometimes I do it's challenging for me to speak above my natural tone of voice, which I'm asked to do quite often because I'm a mumbler. But I find that challenging because I'm not a big person. Like I'm not this guy. I don't stick my head up in the air. I talk like this. That's where I feel natural. That's where I feel comfortable. I'm not this guy. So I find that challenging to be that guy. I hate being that guy. When directors tell me to be the guy, it makes me sick. Really irritating. I hope I answered your question. Awesome. Thanks, man.
So before we take a big group photo, any final thoughts you want to leave us with, and maybe tell us about some of your upcoming projects?
I don't want to talk about myself. No, I mean, I have my first family film coming out in January, which I'm kind of terrified about. Then I've got a couple cool things going. I just got finished doing a film with Zack Snyder called Army of the Dead, which I'm really excited about. It's great. It's a lot more than I think people are going to expect. But it's a great. I think it's going to be a great film. I haven't seen a final product, and then Dune. I think Dune is really
Awesome. All right, so are you all right if we take a big group photo?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so very carefully, I need you all to make your way on up to the stage. Steve, we're going to have you stand right here.